I would like to hand over the session now to Payal ma'am. So please let's have a round of applause. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me? Good afternoon. It's a privilege to share this space with two exemplary ladies. We have Lucy Hanna, founder and director of Untold Narratives, and on screen we have Marie Bamyani, an Afghan writer. Lucy's conviction has given birth to this book, My Dear Kabul, and this is largely a collection of texts from a WhatsApp group of Afghan women writers. And Marie, who's joining us on the big screen, is at present in Germany, and she's one of the 21 writers who has bared her soul with all the angst that she has gone through. And today, as we celebrate Republic Day, we hope that Afghanistan too gets freedom, and its women especially. So I'll begin by asking Lucy to share her journey and tell us about the writing development project that resulted in this book.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Marie.
Hi.
Are you there? Yeah, you're there. Good, good. Just so Marie knows, Marie, you're talking to Calcutta. I don't think Marie knows where the hell she's talking. So where did this start? This started probably in about 2006, 2007. I was working in Kabul, in Afghanistan, with a group of radio drama script writers. So the local radio soap opera in Afghanistan called New Home, New Life is incredibly popular. And I was there working with the team on storylines for the soap opera. So quite a niche reason for being in Afghanistan. And one lunch break, we were talking, myself and two of the writers, Najla and Parand, those are pen names for security reasons, about whether they wrote prose fiction, and if so, what are the challenges with getting it published as women writers. And they told me all about how difficult it is. There are very few, there's a dearth of literary editors, literary translators. They were writing in Dari and Pashto, two of the main Afghan languages. And we talked about how it would be if we could start a project that would sort of contribute towards a literary ecosystem in Afghanistan, where women writers in particular could be linked to editors and translators, so that their work had more chance of being published without them having to pay for it to be published as women in Afghanistan, and more widely in translation globally. And in 2019, I'd managed to raise some money, and we launched the project and started off with an open call. Payal told me to make my answers long, so
yes,
you just
please.
want to stop
Yes.
that. We started off with an open call across the country, and people said, oh, you'll maybe get 30 submissions of short fiction by Afghan women. We got 100, 200, and then realized we had to do something about this. So we have to respond. A team of Afghan readers selected about 15 writers from that initial call, because we didn't have the resources to work with everyone. And that group formed the beginning of a writers group that is now more than 50 writers and has been meeting regularly ever since 2019. So I'll just stop. That's how it started.
So Marie, I'll bring you in here. How painful is it to put your deepest fears on paper when this project first started?
Well,
how difficult was
Sorry, Payal. When we started, we were actually writing
this book?
Just fiction. I mean, normal fiction.
My pen is the wing of fur.
Yeah, just like it wasn't. There wasn't the Taliban hadn't retaken Kabul, so it was just people having an opportunity to develop their fiction, whatever that may be. Just the fear factor probably is. Well,
and Marie, your story, The Black Crow of Winter, features in this book. Is it based on a real life experience? Could you share a bit of your story, the one that's published in the first book?
Sure. First of all, thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me here. I'm really happy to be here. I was in India for 2 years, so I have a good memory from there. So yeah. And coming to my story, yeah, mostly I am writing a story based on what's happening around me, what I'm seeing, what I'm observing. Yeah, so most of them are based on real life. Though it was not my intention to write from real life, it was more fiction. But in the situation that we are, I think it is more my priority to be a voice of a woman, to be a voice for myself as a woman from Afghanistan. So I am, yeah, I'm trying to write based on real life.
You've really poured your heart in My Dear Kabul, which all began work, I think, in early 2021, before the Taliban took over in August 2021. We'll come to that in a minute. But Lucy, in the editor's introduction, you say that to ensure the safety of the writers, you've had to make some changes and make some parts of their life invisible. Could you just give us a sense of that?
Yeah, so I suppose there are two things. So when we started the group, we after a year or so, we realized we had enough pieces, strong pieces of new fiction by Afghan women for them to become a collection, which was bought by Hachette in the UK in March 2021. And as the group were finishing their pieces for this book, of which Marie has a piece in the middle of August, everybody's life turned upside down with the Taliban retaking Kabul, retaking Afghanistan. And at that point, we had to change everything. We had to change the way we were working. There were now 25, 30 writers in the group. People didn't know what was going to happen tomorrow. We thought the funders of the program pulled out because they were worried about security. And we talked together, Marie and Najla and Parand and everyone in the book, about what to do now. What do we do? Do we stop? Do we? And everybody firstly wanted to carry on and make sure this book came out, which meant carrying on communicating and working by secure means, even if somebody was in the middle of trying to leave the country. And also, it was really important to stay together, to continue the writing community that had started. And that meant continuing to communicate via WhatsApp, which we had been using, the only thing we'd been using all along. And over the next 12 months, the writers in the group talked to each other, shared thoughts, ideas, information, new story ideas through WhatsApp messages in Dari and Pashto, which we disappeared every night for security reasons, so it came off the writers' phones, and we kept the messages, not thinking about a book. And then gradually, the content was so fascinating that we then, in the following August, talked about, is there another life for this? Could we make a book out of the messages, which were 200,000 words in Pashto and Dari, which ended up as 70,000 words in English, and now in 5, nearly 6 different languages around the world.
And Marie, most of the writers have written in Dari and Pashto, as Lucy just mentioned, and these stories are translated into English. So the writers obviously placed implicit trust in the translators because some of them were not even familiar with English. So they really wouldn't know what was the final outcome. How did you find the final book? Did you read the translated version?
Yeah. Or even like we have the English version. I mean, Atul share as the Persian version or Farsi or the original one. That this is the book that we are going to publish, and now we have it in English and many other languages. But for me, I never thought that our WhatsApp messages will be one day will be a book. that is a part of history of Afghanistan, I think. For me, it is not just a book. For me, it's like a documentary from the darkest day of our life, not just for me, for all Afghanistan. So for me, it is very valuable, a very powerful book, and I'm just happy that we have this book in many languages, because the more languages we have, or the more translation we have, the more voice we have over the world. So yeah, it's not just a book for us, it's a part of the story of Afghanistan. And it's a story that has been written by women in different ages. What is so pure about this book, what is very interesting about this book is that you can find different ages in this book. We have someone in their 20s, we have someone in 30, we have someone in 50. So you can, or somehow I can say that we have different generations. A 50 or 55 woman can be my mother that had the same experience when the first time Taliban took over Afghanistan. And the one who is in 20, they are a new generation that experiencing the same thing, like retaking of Afghanistan by Taliban. So yeah, for me, this book is very pure, it's very valuable. And whatever you read in this book, it is, so normally we have a lot of censorship in every book. So as you're saying, don't put this in a lot of, you know the process. But in this book, everything is so real, everything is very, like everything is based on our life experience.
Yes.
So why I'm saying that, because when we were writing the messages in WhatsApp, we never thought that it should be a book. Normally, as a writer, sometimes we are very conservative, not putting everything in our writing because we are not that much brave. But when we were texting to each other, so we never thought that it would be a book. So it is so pure in there. Everything is there. It's something emotionally so
Absolutely.
so pure. So yeah.
In fact, even for a reader, when you read the book, you almost feel like it's a bunch of friends sharing their thoughts, their pain together. And you can see the bonding as well. And I believe part 2 might happen soon. Lucy tells me they've still got the chat is still on.
Well, that chat isn't, but with the writers group continues.
I see.
I don't think we're going to go through this again, this particular.
And Lucy, could you tell us a bit about the structure? You've used the 4 seasons, like autumn, winter, spring, summer, and there's a wheelchair-bound author, or writer, Mariam, and she says these lines, I was born disabled and now have breathed the air of dictatorship. I feel a lot more disabled. And outside her window is the powerful presence of the quince tree, which in India we call the bale tree. And the seasons change, the tree bears fruit, but her predicament and her plight seem constant. But using this structure really has been very, very effective. Could you just tell us a bit about this?
Yeah, I suppose it was tricky because, as Marie said, it wasn't, we didn't write, this wasn't written as a book. It was written as a group of writers who belong to the same group. Should say that most of them have never met each other, nor us, none of us have ever met each other, yet we've been talking to each other for 5 years, probably twice a week, to develop work. And the structure was challenging because you have a sort of pile, literally, of WhatsApp messages. And we tried various ways of putting it together to try to, well, for it to have some sort of sense, some sort of period. But the problem was that some writers sort of read without writing, some wrote without reading, some disappeared for maybe 2 months, possibly while they were leaving the country, because now this particular group is scattered across 12 countries. and some are still in Afghanistan. And so eventually we landed on chronological, and we didn't want to change any words. This is not a sort of great work of literature. It is very much raw, from the heart,
Spontaneous
frontline.
outpourings almost.
Yes, yes, sort of reportage almost, front sort of. And so we just thought, right, we just do chronologically, and when there's a gap, there's a gap. And then you rejoin, somebody rejoins and maybe pops up in Sweden, having been, last heard of in Kabul. And Mariam, the only extra words we commissioned were from Mariam, and we asked her to see if she could help us with time passing, to give us a sense of that. So we said we're going to divide it into the seasons, very simply, and she wrote 4 or 5 very short pieces, which are really her observing the quince tree from her window as it goes through the seasons. And I think it works as a time passing,
very powerful
device. And she was one of the writers who she stopped writing. She wrote privately her own diary, but she carried on reading everybody else's messages and then wanted to have a place at the end there.
Marie, at one point you say, I'm happy that we are not the women of 1996 anymore. Each of us is in some way taking a step forward so that the future is ours. What are the changes you noticed in yourself during this entire process?
Yeah, of course, I think there's a lot of changes. I'm here now talking with you, so this is a big change. I have a platform to talk about what's happening in Afghanistan. I have the opportunity to write something that people can write. I have the opportunity to make network with people. I think there is a lot of things changes. Obviously, after joining Atoll or having my Dear Kabul. So I think I mentioned there that we are not the women of 1996, which now I am thinking I'm a little bit shameful for that, because now I can understand that, for example, my mother or my grandmother, they were also did fight on their own way. So it's very cruel to say that I'm not a woman of 1990s. Somehow I represent them, and I also have my own way. So yeah, you can see there's a lot of very small changes in me that I'm happy about that. Yeah, I think I'm told to give us this opportunity to have a voice, especially for women, someone who is from Afghanistan. And I can say right now, I don't have too much in my mind. If we can carry on.
Yeah. So whether as a woman in the geography of war or whether starting off as a refugee in Germany, it's not been an easy journey for you. Would you just like to tell us a bit about the process of leaving Kabul and going to Germany? You've written about the Ministry of Higher Education and the documents that you will finding a lot of difficulty procuring. Would you like to share a bit about that?
Sure. So before the Taliban take over Kabul, actually I graduated from India, so I had my document to the Ministry of Education for verification thing. So they were with them. And when Taliban took over Kabul, so my document, my passport, all of things were there. So obviously I have to take it back. And then I went to Ministry of Higher Education. There was a bunch of people that they called themselves Talib. And for the first time, of my life, I saw Talib from face to face. And we, I can say we had a discussion, but we had a fight with them that
They
I want
asked
back
you.
my.
They asked you, "Where is your hijab?" And you
course.
answered with, "What is a
That
hijab?"
is the question. I said, this is how I look. What is hijab for you? Yeah. So you know they have. We have. I know you know about how people dress in Afghanistan. We like wearing a scarf, but we are not covering our here. So for them, they are not hijab. So then I said, this is my hijab, and they were very surprised that one of them even told me that, why do you need your document? Because you are no longer to work here. And I was very angry. I said, I need my document. It's not your like not your business what I'm going to do. And my friend was also with me. She was also have a like fighting with her. So honestly, I get afraid because I had a gun. So I thought, but if they shoot her, so we'll leave. But I got my document to one person there. And since I was working with a German organization in Afghanistan, so they helped me to leave Afghanistan.
We'll talk about your challenges in Germany, but before that, I'll request Lucy to read a passage that describes your parting from your family.
Marie, I'm reading your words because I think it's easier to hear. So this is Marie's WhatsApp entry just before she left. She says, next week I will probably, this is her telling the group, next week I will probably fly and leave my country forever. I try to stay happy, but I cannot. Something is lying very heavy on my chest. I feel no emotion, as if I don't care to go. I will escape, but my family, parents, siblings, and friends will have to live and breathe here under the rule of these horrible men. I worry how my mother will bear the longing. All her children are leaving her one by one when she needs them the most. What kind of children are we, really? When I think about my father, my heart breaks. How can I tell him that I'm going away and I will not come back? I'm scared that when I meet my parents again, their eyes will no longer see and their backs will be bent. I look at my mother's face and memorize the wrinkles on her face. I say in my heart, I just hope that when I see you next, you'll look just like this. I start crying, then I hate myself for not controlling my emotions. I walk towards my father. I'll probably leave next week. His eyes light up and he laughs and thanks God for it. May you have a good trip, he says, and asks me details about it. I feel that he is faking his happiness.
And Marie, can you share a bit about the challenges you faced in Germany, away from your family? Other than the language issue, was there any difficulty? Or is there any difficulty?
I think the biggest challenges, apart from the language, is our mental health. I think my body is in Germany, and I am safe, but my soul is still in Afghanistan. I'm with my mother. I'm with my sister. She is in Afghanistan. That I'm not right to go to university. It's 4 years that she is at home doing nothing, suffering from depression. And there's my father that cannot do anything for her. So yeah, everyone think that you are lucky that you're in Germany, you are safe. But yeah, my body is here, but mentally I am in Afghanistan. And I think through these 4 years, it is the hardest time of my life. I never imagined that life in immigration could be this hard. Because I think I'm the first generation of my family that traveling alone. You know, we are Asian based country, so we are more like being with community. We are family people, so we are always stick together. Then for me, it's the first time that I'm going away from my family, and it's really hard. It's really hard that sometimes I can't like express it in words. I can't write the exact feeling in a word. Yes. What that feeling is called, that I have to say, okay, I'm suffering this here. Yes. So obviously it's not easy here. Language is things that we can learn, but emotion is things that we
Yes,
have
absolutely.
to go through it, to experience it. Yeah.
Yeah, and at one place you say that if the Taliban were removed, you would be very happy to go back to Afghanistan, to your family. Of course.
I love to go back to Afghanistan. I never thought about immigration, but with this situation, I think I can't live under this regime.
Circumstances.
They are very cruel. What is happening in Afghanistan is gender apartheid. Women are not allowed to do anything. I think even they are not allowed to breathe without without but I don't know the exact word, but without the permission of Taliban.
True.
So people say that okay, it's a normal situation, but I don't think so.
One of the
Because I live here, I know them. Sorry?
Yeah, carry on.
Yeah. So I said, normally what we get from the media is not the reality. It's like a small part of reality, but what people suffer there is something else.
Absolutely.
Like after 2020, everything has changed. Yeah, even we were normal people there, and our life was totally changed in one day. So.
One of the writers talks about the Taliban starting a war inside homes. Men have adopted the Taliban way of thinking and the cases of domestic violence. And covering the body with a burqa is not enough. They feel they want to cover the woman's mind, her thinking. This I'll ask both of you to comment. Lucy, your comments?
Well, I think it's probably for Marie to comment because I'm not an Afghan woman, but all I can say is that that a lot of the families of writers in the program are incredibly supportive, men included, and brothers included, and so on. Funnily enough, Mariam, and I know she doesn't mind me saying this, her father still doesn't know she writes, but her siblings do know, and her mother's very supportive, and she now has earned about as much from her commissions for her pieces of fiction and so on as she would have done had she been a teacher in Afghanistan in the last 2 or 3 years. So people find ways. But sorry, that took you off the.
So Marie, you've talked about the unfair behavior of men and the look of victory and dominance on their face. Would you like to share, because you've written these lines at one part of the book?
Yeah. Like when Taliban took over Kabul, so for 1 or 2 weeks I was not able to go out because I'm really afraid of the face of the Taliban. So they are dangerous. But after 1 or 2 weeks, I don't remember exactly, when I went to the Ministry of Education, the city was totally changed. And for me, it was very hard to recognize which man is Talib. But I don't know how many in the audience is men, but I'm sorry to say that. But the man was the first. The man was the first people in Afghanistan that they changed totally. If they have bread, they're wearing the same thing that Taliban ordered that you have. Even I don't remember Taliban ordered that you have to wear this, but they automatically changed themselves. And I went to bank to have some money, and there was a guard in the bank, and now I'm thinking he was not Talib, but a normal man, which I thought he is Talib because his behavior is totally changed. And even I was running a counseling service in Afghanistan, my own counseling service. So, and I went there to shut down that center. And the landlord, which was a very, very, very kind man, that day he totally changed. His behavior was changed. He was, I don't know, I saw someone very different. So yeah, in one night, there is a big change with men. But fortunately, women is still in Kabul. I'm talking about Kabul because I lived in Kabul. So, but fortunately, women was like they had the same dress. I couldn't see any woman wearing burqa in Kabul unless that the Taliban later say that you have to wear burqa. It's a compulsory thing.
Again, this question is to both of you. In a world of deeply entrenched patriarchy, do you think women perpetuate patriarchy? One of the writers in the book says, we accepted the life we lived. The situation never changed for us because we brought our sons up like their fathers. Your comments, Lucy?
Well, you can't exclude in any change, you have to include men firstly and most importantly. Need to think about it. Maybe Marie's got one. I mean, yeah, I mean, it changes, doesn't it, in where you are in the world, in some cases more than others, but I would say yes, up to a point, but...
In India, for instance, women are often accused of perpetuating patriarchy.
Yeah, I mean, well, then you've answered the question a bit in your eyes. I mean, where I am in the UK, yes and no, depending. But my only thing would be that always be inclusive. I've worked a lot with young in prisons in the UK, where a lot of young men don't have a male figure in their life, and the first thing is to include men in the conversation. I would say that's the main thing.
Marie, would you like to comment on this?
I didn't get exactly the question, sorry.
Like one of the writers, she talks about how women are also responsible for this deeply entrenched patriarchy because we bring up boys like their fathers. Do you agree with that comment?
Well, I also say that you're dealing with the Taliban here, not the...
It's a deep conversation, I think. I can say, yeah, somehow I am saying, yeah, because by suffering, not saying, or obeying, somehow we are like, we make this fatherhood things bigger, or we make them to grow somehow. So for example, if I am not saying anything to my father when he is like not listening to me or whatever the sort is, so somehow, yeah, I'm helping him. So we are responsible, but it's a deep conversation because with the environment of Afghanistan, somehow women are not also responsible because they don't know what exactly the right of a woman or what women deserve to be. Okay. So what they learn, they think, okay, this is what God has said and we have to obey. And yeah, that's it. I think we can talk here, but we can talk deeply about it. Yes. It's a broad discussion.
Coming to something positive now. In this bleak landscape, rare acts of kindness from men leave the women completely overwhelmed. For instance, Fatima, one of the writers, she's resettled in Iran, and she's desperate to participate in this York Literary Fest online. And she's trying her best to get access to the internet, and she's failing. People are mocking her accent. In a corner shop, she finds a kind man who not only gives her access to his Wi-Fi, he refuses to take money. And before she leaves, he tells her, just be careful, you're an Afghan, the police may pick you up. And she's just overwhelmed with his kindness. And Lisa, could you also, sorry, Lucy, could you just read a passage from Masuma's experience with a similar kind of kindness? When she's with the immigration officer in Sweden?
Massimo left the WhatsApp group and disappeared for about 2 or 3 months, and then she rejoined, and she got to Sweden on her own. And she says, like many other people, I made the decision to go as far from Afghanistan as I could. Now I'm in a place where I don't look like anyone around me. I don't understand the language. I don't know my way around. I don't know people. It is possible that in their eyes, I'm odd and strange by the way I dress, the way I sound, the way I eat, the way I look at people and things, the way I've learned everything I know. I am different. And here I must be born again, begin again. For a long time as I walked, I felt I should apologize to everyone I saw in the street because I'd come to their country without an invitation, without their permission. One day, at the immigration office, I asked the official there for forgiveness. During my interview with him, I said, I want to apologize to the people of Sweden for coming to your country without permission. I'm sorry to be your burden. I don't have any claim on you. Neither I nor my forefathers did anything for your country. Whatever you've made of your country is because of your own hard work. And now we have come to bother you. I felt my emotion rise in my throat. With so much kindness, the man replied, it is every human's right to live where they feel safe. Which is very
beautiful lines
for our times right now.
And these little acts of kindness really added a lot to the book as well, and the experiences of the writers. Marie, you've written about the silence of the international community and how that upset you a lot. When you were in Germany, you saw Ukraine flags in houses and shops, and while you have nothing against Ukraine, you say, you wonder why the world is silent about Afghanistan. And then you write, I know the Ukrainians are white with blue eyes and they're Europe, but humanity is humanity. Would you like to add to that?
It was a strange experience for me, because when I was in Afghanistan, I expected that people out of Afghanistan, those who are in Europe, they are more they care more about humanity compared to Asian countries, because what we are having from the media, that was my my thought. But when I come here and I saw what was happening in Ukraine, which is not, I'm really deeply sad about that. But the solidarity that I saw that German or other people have with Ukrainian, not with Afghanistan, that was sad with me, because still I'm thinking all human are human beings, and doesn't matter which race you are, which color do you have. But I don't know, somehow the reality is that people care more about their races. Not all of them, of course. I'm just talking about the city that I'm living. That was my emotion at that time. Yeah, even when I was in Afghanistan, now my perspective totally changed. That world is not so cruel. World is also not so very paradise. It's the balance. We can find good, bad people. So it's not an address to all of German.
Yes.
Mostly I met a lot of nice people, and it's also no address to all of other people. So yeah.
And one of the writers, Nilofer, tells her sister, don't worry about the future, just prepare for it. And I believe these days will pass and things will change. So may these brave women get the freedom they deserve. And on this optimistic note, we could take some questions from the floor. Yes.
Can I just say that Marie is now working as a project coordinator for Untold from Germany.
Yeah.
As well as...
I have this privilege to work with Untold. Thank you, Lucy.
That's lovely.
First of all, I wanted to thank you both for this, and all three of you, for this very life-affirming session in a way which was so tough. I wanted to ask you, Ms. Hannah, about what you mentioned that you were there on a project, because you see the scope, the idea of the project is perhaps even more spectacular in a way, for lack of a better word, than even perhaps the writing, that you could do this, that you could bring these women together, that they came together, that they wrote, they were able to give a voice, they get their voice heard, is something that is truly, truly remarkable. And I wanted to ask you that you said something about being in a very niche project that took you to Afghanistan in the first place. So I just wanted to ask you what took you, and from there, how I may have missed something, how did you get into this absolutely marvelous endeavor that has touched so many people?
Well, that's very nice of you to say that, but you can't do what got me into it. I was working for scriptwriter, so I was a sort of hired hand had been working in prisons actually as a writer in residence, and when you leave prison, you probably become a mercenary. So that's kind of what I did. And I was in various parts of the world where no one else wanted to necessarily work, in northeast Nigeria and in Afghanistan, in Chechnya, and various places, working with writers on creative projects. And this one was this radio soap opera. But I think the point is that it's not an idea it's driven by the people involved, and it's about a need and a gap, and it's what we were talking about actually on this stage last night, was that the publishing world in the biggest sense is very unfair, and there's a huge sort of imbalance between, I mean, so for example, when we had the manuscript for this book, I went to 11 publishers in the UK, and they all said, well, nobody wants to read about from pieces by Afghan women. I mean, why would they? And one publisher said, yes, we will take it. When Kabul was retaken by the Taliban 4 months later, 9 of those publishers called me up and said, oh, you know that thing you came in about? We want it now. And it took, a sort of terrible political thing, the retaking of a country, to make people interested. So what am I trying to say? I think I'm trying to say that the work is about, there are writers everywhere. We all know there are writers everywhere. And in some places, it's easier to get your work to readers, whether in your own language or in translation, than it is in other places. And it is simply that what we're trying to do is to encourage the larger people with the power and resources to say, look, there are people structurally marginalized, writers, by language, by censorship, by freedom of expression, by conflict. We're just starting a new project in Sudan, and so people just, that's it, I suppose. It's kind of, why do you get up in the morning? Because it's not fair, that's why. And by 2028, this program is going to be led by, hopefully, Marie and some of the others in the group, and it will be Afghan-led. And that's the important thing. Translation's important, distribution's important, and it's important that publishers with the power and resources get behind little initiatives like this and just kick them into the main, out of the long grass. And that's the engine.
Thank you. I don't want to take up time, but I just had one more that was very striking about what Marie said. I came from another session here, which was by Kiran Desai, who talked about the loneliness of Sonia and Sunny, which is about the loneliness of migrants, which is also following up on her earlier work, which is this whole migrant experience. And what lies on the other side of freedom is not always what we think it is. There is so much loneliness and the sadness, as she said, my body is in Germany, my heart is still in Kabul. And so that was something very moving, which we forget when we think that.
And a lot of people don't want to leave. I mean, everyone assumes.
Because of this, yes. But thank you.
Any more questions?
So, oh gosh.
So, Marie alluded to the apathy towards Afghanistan, and you might need to convey this to Marie in case she can't hear what it is that I'm suggesting or asking. She suggested that there's apathy towards Afghanistan different from what it is that she saw towards Ukraine in Germany, and she ascribed it to race and color. Dare I say there is an angle of religiosity as well? Because the Taliban rule by Islamic Sharia, ostensibly, and should the world oppose it, it might be viewed Islamophobia. Do you think there's some element there? You're familiar with the terrain?
Do you want me to answer that or Marie?
Both of you, either or both.
So the question, Marie, can you hear the question?
It's very, the sound was very low.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll just say that in the, I mean, certainly in the UK, talking about Europe, I mean, there is much more interest in Ukraine is nearer, it's closer. You know, there's the same, it was ever thus, the same problem with Sudan being forgotten, there are many, many forgotten wars around the world going on as we speak. And, you know, depending on where you're sitting, they're forgotten to a greater or lesser degree, as we all know. And it's about, I mean, it's about all those things, and it's getting, sadly, not getting better. I don't know if you want to ask
Any
me
more
about
questions?
Payal. Okay, so part of my question was kind of addressed by Manoj here, but Marie, I want to know, as a woman and as an Afghan, you have betrayal at many levels. As a woman, did you ever turn to religion for solace? Because you grew up as a deeply spiritual human being, I'm sure. So did you think of God in your troubled times, or you wrote it off as Taliban and you, dissociated yourself with God? And if you reinvent yourself in your dreams, what would your identity be as a woman in terms of Afghan, or, what kind of a dream do you have of yourself? Of going back home and having a family, or being an activist, or what provides you with the most solace? Your special place in heaven, in a dream world.
Can you hear that?
I couldn't hear all of them, but
do you turn to?
You mentioned, Lucy, please can you
Shall I do? You do
it again?
I'm coming to the part of prayer before Marie answers. At one point, one of the writers writes, "I'm tired of this God who is with the Taliban." And that was really, really saddening to hear. Some of them who are deeply religious, but their faith is kind of wavering because they wonder why their prayers aren't being answered, why they aren't getting the basic minimum freedom that they want. So Marie, do you think many of the women do turn to prayer? And where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Do you see yourself in Germany?
It's a hard question, I think.
Okay, not to worry.
For the 2 or 3 years, I didn't have this mentality to live here, because I had this hope that I will go back to Afghanistan, everything will be okay. But now it took a later time. Now I am between Afghanistan and Germany, so I can't choose Afghanistan, I can't choose Germany. So it's hard for me to decide now, but let's see the future. I may go back to Afghanistan, it's my country, so obviously.
And your siblings are all there in Afghanistan?
My younger sister is in Afghanistan,
Okay.
but I have a brother and sister that they are out of Afghanistan.
I see.
Shall I ask him, Marie, the question was about what keeps you going, your spirituality. Who do you turn to? Do you turn to God? What do you turn to when things are getting very tough? Is that the kind of thing?
Yes.
So I'm not a religious person, actually. And so I have a lot of criticism about my religion, which is Islam. And there's a lot of things that I point on them, which is not right, especially the Islam that Taliban represent. Of course, the Islam that when I am looking at my father, at my mother, it is something beautiful. It's a religion of mercy, kindness, respect. But what we have from Taliban is the difference. So overall, I'm not a religious person. I would like to continue as a writer, as a free writer, and not to attach to any religion, to any thing. So I don't know. I'm in the. To be honest, I'm taking my first step. So there's a lot to explore. I have to learn a lot. I don't know. Maybe in 5 years, I'm something something different. But right now I can say that I would like to continue my career as a writer. I would like to write about women, not just Afghanistan women. If I had the opportunity to write about other women, even in Germany, because women are women. When the world rules by a man, so we have to stand for women. And yeah, right now I can say that. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I think now we're running out of time. A big thank you to the audience, to Marie, to Lucy, and on our Republic Day, a special prayer for Afghanistan and its women.
Bye, Marie.
Bye.
Hold up your book. He wants you to hold up your book.
Which book? This book?
You can do that.
All right. Make sure you've got Marie in. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you, Mary, Lucy, and Payal ma'am for that really interesting session. I think we learned a little bit about refugees and everything in whole today. We'll just take a few minutes while we get into the next session.